October 19th, 2018, where I uploaded the first ever video on this channel. The first episode of The Simpsons Hit and Run. And since then, I have played through 24 different games on this channel. And I thought for the 7-year anniversary that I'd decide to rank all of them. Now, one thing to point out is that there's not a single game on here that I don't like, since I go with the mindset of only Let's Playing games that I genuinely enjoy. This is all my opinion, so if you disagree with the placements of any of these games, let me know. Also, I'm not going to talk about anything from my multiplayer channel MultiPals, since that's a separate channel. But anyways, let's get into the ranking.
Draw your blade. With pleasure.
Sword! Pokemon Sword is currently the only Pokemon game I've covered. Definitely not my first choice, but I didn't have many options since the only games I'm able to record that don't require emulators are on Switch. I wasn't the biggest fan of Let's Go. I hate BDSP. And as for Arceus and Scarlet and Violet, while I do like those games in comparison, they are much more complex. So I wanted to start off simple. Now, on to the game itself. And it is, in fact, a Pokemon game. You catch and fight Pokemon. I like the new Pokemon they added, like Corviknight, Sirfetch'd, Voltund, and Toxtricity. I like how the gyms are treated like a huge sports event. Like, it feels like how the Pokemon League is in the anime. And I do enjoy some of the characters like Sonia, Marnie, and Hop. But honestly, the game kind of feels lacking. Like, it feels like you could casually beat the game in about 15 hours, which feels really short for a Pokemon game. The DLC kinda helps with this, but it kinda sucks that what's basically the post-game is locked behind a paywall. I'm not the biggest fan of Gigantamax. Like, it really just felt like they needed to include a gimmick to show off that the Switch is much more powerful because the Pokemon are giant now. And the Darkest Day plotline really didn't do it for me. It kinda was to a point where I wanted to move on to another Let's Play once I finished this game. And part of the problem was probably the fact that I didn't upload anything for months during this playthrough because I didn't have a computer to record with shortly after it began. Heck, I think because of my playthrough, I've started to like this game less. I used to love it when I first got it, still enjoyed it after getting over any recency bias, and while I still kinda like it, it's not gonna win a favorite Pokemon game award.
He burnt my shake!
Cosmic Shake is such a weird game because it's a game that I enjoy, yet at the same time feels like a letdown from Battle for Bikini Bottom. I like how each of the locations have different themes to them, like Western or Pirate. I like the new abilities, my favorite being the Karate Kick. I overall enjoy playing through the story. But this game also feels like another game where I wanted more out of it. Like, the end game especially feels extremely rushed with that final boss. I mean, you know you have a lackluster boss if you straight up forget to make the video public until nighttime, like I did. It also really doesn't feel as encouraging to collect anything in the game compared to BFBB. The main collectibles are coins, which give you costumes, which are cool and all, but don't feel as impactful, even if some of them are pretty fan service-like. The side quests to get some of them are pretty fun, however. And then the golden spatulas give you an achievement. And that's it. The collectibles to me just felt exhausting. And that shows with the video where I backtracked to get everything I couldn't get prior. And lastly, while this may be a bit more nitpicky, dialogue got on my nerves at times. Usually the stuff that repeats non-stop during gameplay. Like, good lord, SpongeBob, I get it. The jelly is cool. Can you stop repeating it every time you collect it? I also find the instances in the dialogue where they make references to older episodes kinda cheesy, because it felt like they were trying desperately to nostalgia pander to older SpongeBob fans. Although it's luckily nowhere near as bad as some of the pandering in the show. Who asked for Nosferatu to be an actual character? Overall, I still do like this game, but if I wanted to play something from SpongeBob, I'd just stick with the FPV.
Holy Christ, it's a piece of paper!
So despite me not being the biggest fan of modern Paper Mario, I had a pleasant time with Origami King. The visuals are beautiful. Walking around in the overworld is fun. The locations themselves aren't half bad, and I enjoy some of the characters in this game, such as Bobby or Olivia. I also enjoy all the various instances of fighting toads and treasures and filling in the world with confetti. This story is kind of meh, but not terrible. And the same even goes for the combat. I kinda like the regular battles, but some of the bosses I wasn't a fan of. I also don't really like how easy it is to collect coins. Like, it feels so easy to get all the way up to 10,000 super early. It's fine for completion, but when you're just playing the game, you can pay money to make the battles easier. And it's not all that expensive, so it makes the game feel like a cakewalk. I overall still like this game, but I'm not sure if I would necessarily recommend it, especially when you have 2 other Paper Mario games you can currently play on the Switch, on top of plenty of other Mario RPGs also on there.
Hey, motherfucker! Come here and give me your liver!
This spot is gonna be controversial, but here it is. Super Mario 64. Easily one of the most beloved Mario games, and even one of the most beloved games of all time. Now, this is still a fun game and all. It's got great levels, and the graphics, while it might be a bit dated, still have a lot of charm, and some absolutely amazing music. My main issues are the controls and the camera. Now, it's easy to understand how to control, but the controls kind of feel sensitive. Like, it feels like you might move a lot more than it feels like you should have. Or it feels like you don't jump as high as you should. Now, maybe I'm just not that good at the game, and that's probably the case, but it just feels a bit clunky, and nowhere near as smooth as later games. It also doesn't help that sometimes you'll come across invisible walls in the game. Now, as for the camera, yeah, this camera sucks. It can be positioned a way that might hinder you, and it often feels like moving around the camera doesn't actually help all that much. Now, to be fair to my critiques, this game was one of the first games ever to dive into 3D, so of course, when doing something new, it's not going to be perfect the first go around. Super Mario 64 walked so future 3D games could run, but even still, I prefer playing games like Galaxy 1 and 2, Odyssey, and even 3D World.
I need you to go out and buy eggs for Bart!
Go buy eggs for Bart!
And so the mission began.
Good old Simpsons Hit and Run. My very first Let's Play ever. Why was this chosen first? Probably because I recently beat it, and thus, it was the first game that came to mind. I genuinely don't know if I would have done this game otherwise. Not that it's a bad game at all, far from it, but I don't know if it would have been a top priority ever. Seeing the characters and world of Springfield is absolutely fun to see. The story is absolutely bonkers and I kinda love it. And man, the fact that this is basically Grand Theft Auto meets The Simpsons, like, I'd say the most fun thing about a game like this is the sandbox aspect of it. There's so much of Springfield to travel, whether by car or on foot, and it's just so fun to mess around and cause some absolute chaos. I think the weakest part of the game might be the missions. Again, not that they're bad, but at times it feels weird. Like, why are some of the time limits such random numbers like 2 minutes and 1 second? Why not 2 minutes? Or heck, 2 minutes and 5 seconds. Some of the missions themselves genuinely suck, like Set to Kill in particular feels like you can only beat with seconds to spare. I also dislike how the last 3 missions of the game are basically the exact same, but with different cars. And the later ones have less and less time to beat them. I also don't entirely like how at certain points in the game, you're forced to buy a costume or vehicle to even progress through the game, meaning you'll have to grind for coins if you don't have enough. But the thing is, at least for the vehicles, you don't even need to use the specific vehicle you're forced to buy. Like, at one point you need to buy a school bus to destroy some cars. So I did, but for me, I felt like it didn't really help with the mission. So I used one of the other hard-hitting vehicles I had, and wouldn't you know it, I won with it. I'd overall still recommend trying the game out, if you want to mess around. But if you actually want to play through the game's story, it might be a bit harder to recommend.
Gregory, I need you to get in my hole.
Huh?
This one is definitely going to be controversial. So, FNAF Security Breach, the most divisive game in the franchise. Now, yes, this is not really a good game at all. It has glitches, the story is incomplete, and there's a lot of questionable decisions. Like before one of the patches added a special save station, when you hit 6 a.m., you could not save at all.
Closing. Oh my god, no! No! God!
And if you were trying to get the Afton ending but died, you lost so much progress. There were also several instances where it's so confusing where you're supposed to go or what you're supposed to do. Like not knowing where you're supposed to go in the loading docks, which led to them adding arrows in a patch telling you where to go, or the Afton fight being so bad at communicating how in order to get rid of Roxy, you have to use Chica's voice box. All the game tells you is that you gotta hide, and unfortunately, the game's not all that scary. It's an absolute mess of a game, especially when it was first released. But it's kind of a guilty pleasure for me. On a repeat playthrough, I'd say the game becomes more fun, because you're not constantly getting confused on what to do. And while it sucks how glitchy the game is, it's an entertaining mess, seeing how the game might mess up. And another thing I think helped me enjoy it more was the Let's Play of it. You see, I don't currently own the newer PlayStation or Xbox consoles, so my options for owning the game were on Switch or PC. But with PC, not only was the storage absurd, I initially did get the game on PC, but I for the life of me could not get it to work. So I just refunded it. So I finally got the game on Switch, but this version is absolutely rough. Please give this game a Switch 2 version. It's still rough even on that console. And when wanting to Let's Play it, I didn't want to play this version. Luckily, my friend and at the time neighbor Riley, or ArcherXYZ, had the game on his PS5. So I played it there. And I think him watching me play made the game so much more fun. The same applies to Ruin, which is not confusing like the main game, but it gets a little boring towards the end. Despite its many flaws, I have quite a bit of fun with it, and maybe you'll have a bit of ironic fun too.
Howdy, cowboys. This is my new film.
Toy Story 3, a big part of my gaming childhood. Nostalgia aside, I think this game is pretty darn good. The levels are great, no bad one in sight. I love how the level select itself is a board game. I especially love how anyone who saw Toy Story 2 had their dreams come true by actually getting to play the Buzz Lightyear video game. On top of that, there's a whole toy box mode where you get to play and explore Woody's Roundup. And it's a pretty fun time. Although by the time I would beat Evil Dr. Porkchop, I wouldn't really finish off any other missions and just start it over if I felt like it. And also, while this only applies to certain versions of the game, I hate how you can't just make a new save file outside of Woody's Roundup. I mean, if I wanted to, I'd have to delete everything, but I don't want to do that. It also kind of sucks how outside of mods for the game, getting to play as Zurg is exclusive to the PS3 version. To this day, I have not gotten to experience it, since I never had a PS3. And also, the graphics on Wii and PC do not look all that great. I can excuse the Wii since it's a lot more underpowered, but why did PC Disney games go for Wii graphics during this era? I also kind of wish there were a bit more cutscenes for this game. Like, I wish they added some cutscenes for Sunnyside, the Prison Break, and the Junkyard. Like, really, we only have bits of the story told to us via some voice lines that play after beating a level for the first time. I would have loved to see how the characters got to whatever the next level had in store, and like, I know you could just watch the movie itself, but I would have loved to see more of how the game developers adapted the movie. But hey, maybe there were gonna be more cutscenes, but they had a deadline to release around the same time as the movie. Even still, I think this is absolutely one of those rare cases where a licensed game holds up really well. It's a shame we don't get these types of games as much anymore, because I kind of miss this era of gaming.
What the fuck? Is that Shadow's dick?
Sonic Adventure 2, the one Sonic game that classic Sonic fans actually played. Jokes aside, this is one of the most beloved Sonic games ever. And while I do like it, I'm not someone who treats it like it's the greatest thing ever. I love how it all looks, I enjoy the story, and I for the most part enjoy levels where you're Sonic or Shadow. With that being said, I kinda dislike how little Shadow gets utilized. They treat him as such an important character, and yet it feels like out of all the characters you play as in the Dark Story, you play as Rouge and Eggman way more than Shadow. Which sucks, because he has the best levels. Now, the treasure hunting levels with Knuckles and Rouge, I actually do enjoy these types of levels, but there's one element of them I absolutely hate. The radar. Not necessarily the fact that it's there, but how they executed it in this game. In Sonic Adventure 1, if you get close to any emerald piece, it would blink green, then yellow, then red, as you get closer and closer. Keep in mind, I said any piece. Meaning it doesn't matter which piece you prioritize first. In Adventure 2, for some reason, they changed this for no reason. Now, only one emerald piece can blink at a time. Which means there could be instances where you're actually close to one of the pieces, but you don't know that because it's not the one that the game is prioritizing. Now, you can still technically get them in any order, but good luck on that. Mods do fix this problem, but if I have to use a mod to fix something that shouldn't have even needed to be fixed, then you failed. And then there's the mech levels with Tails and Eggman, and I'm just not a fan. They feel like a worse version of the Gamma stages from the first game. Like, it's as if you took Gamma and gave them heavier physics. And unfortunately, in the Dark Story, Eggman is the character you play as the most. The beeping sounds can also be so annoying, but despite the flaws, this game is still an enjoyable time and deserves the love it's gotten, even if it's not my favorite. I mean, we got a pretty darn good movie adaptation out of it.
Which closes the gate and prevents you from bowling the bubble where you intended.
Oh boy, now I get to talk about the better SpongeBob game. This was a game I had heard good things about for years, and I always wanted to try, but didn't end up doing so until the game was given a remake treatment, which was insane. They went and remade a licensed kids game, which is insane. Needless to say, I really liked this game a lot. Far from a perfect game, but It's a genuinely solid time seeing the areas and characters of Bikini Bottom, and I had much more fun collecting compared to Cosmic Shake. Granted, not every collectible was all that fun, like the ball game and the Murmur, the crystal one and the kelp forest, and the Mr. Krabs shiny object spatulas can get a little grindy. I also wish Mr. Krabs and Mermaid Man had their original voice actors. Mr. Krabs sounds fine, but he definitely sounds off. As for Mermaid Man, no offense to the one voicing him in this game, but it does not sound like Mermaid Man. It's like Van Ham in Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition. The voice performances are good, but they sound nothing like how the character normally sounds. They did the best they could. It's not easy getting voice actors together, but the voices were still noticeably off. Needless to say, if you're a SpongeBob fan, I'd highly recommend giving this game a shot, whether it's by getting its remake or getting the original if you want. You'll be in for a good time regardless. Whatever you do though, don't play the pre-patch version of Rehydrated and update the game as soon as possible. The Mr. Krabs prices are absurd. Some of the collectibles just straight up do not exist, and some animations don't exist. Like when switching characters, there was no bus there at all.
Bro, are you flirting with my sister?
Yes, I am.
And now, here's the other Sonic Adventure title. Now, why exactly do I like this game over 2? Well, for one, this game has hub worlds, which are fun to explore. Something that wasn't in Adventure 2 at all. I also prefer the levels themselves a lot more in Adventure 1, partially because they're often not as frustrating. And the Emerald stages are designed the way they're supposed to be. And of all the 6 playable characters in this game, the only one I don't really enjoy playing as is Big. He's fine when you're walking around, but the fishing stuff is so stupid. Also, I know this was Sega's first game with full voice acting and cutscenes, but like, how do these cutscenes look unfinished? Now, they're entertainingly bad, but needless to say, they do not look all that great. I mean, it feels like the way they were made was someone just playing the game and modifying it to add some animations. The voice acting itself is also charming, but it really feels like some of the characters are just reading off a script without any sort of direction, particularly Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles.
Watch out! You're gonna crash! Ah!
That's one thing I'll give later games with this particular cast of voice actors, where, while not perfect, it felt like they put in more effort. Even still, I have quite a bit of fun with this one.
I got the perfect plan. This is the greatest plan.
So, this one's a little weird, because technically this is 6 games, but they all play the same and got put into a big old collection, so it won't be that difficult to talk about. So, the Henry Stickmin games. A bunch of Newgrounds Choose Your Path Flash games, which is now a remastered collection, plus a brand new story, all on Steam. That's crazy. These games are absolutely hilarious. I never get tired of the stuff these games have to offer, although they're far from perfect. Like, I really dislike how playing in full screen can often lead to the game crashing, and it sadly never got fixed. Going for 100% can be an absolute doozy, considering some achievements are a little confusing to figure out, or they're a bit of a blink and you miss it. The bios especially are a pain. You're supposed to click on a character and you unlock a bio that talks about that character. Some are easy, but some are ridiculous to click on. And there's 425 of them total. And lastly, while completing the mission is already an extremely massive game in the collection, I kinda wish some of the routes went on for at least one more section, cause some of them end pretty quickly. If you haven't checked this series out, please do. It's a great time. It only costs $15 for the collection on Steam. And even if you don't go for the collection right away, the first 5 games, Breaking the Bank, Escaping the Prison, Stealing the Diamond, Infiltrating the Airship, and Fleeing the Complex, can all be found online for free. You won't be disappointed either way.
Everyone knows it should be Gino.
Super Mario RPG is quite a neat game. It has all the qualities I like with Mario RPGs, such as the action commands, the music, the cast of characters, and an enjoyable story. But here's the thing. I get it's called Super Mario RPG, but I don't like how no matter how you set your party, Mario has to stay in said party, especially considering you only have 4 other characters to choose from. It makes customizing your party to be quite limited. I also wish the main antagonist of the game, Smithy, had more of a presence in the game, because for most of the game, he only gets mentioned a couple of times, and you don't actually see him until you fight him as the final boss. And the game itself is pretty short for an RPG. And while you could argue the original game was released on the SNES, look at Earthbound, a game that was released on the same console with basically double its playtime. I guess with this being one of the last Mario RPGs I've played, I might be making unfair comparisons to the games that came after it. It probably also didn't help that I really wanted it to come to Switch Online, so I might have been a bit impatient with wanting to finally check it out, but then it finally came out, but instead with a remake. And while I really liked the game, even with the new content they added, I kind of felt like it all ended a bit too quickly. But hey, maybe for some of you, you'll enjoy this game more because of its simplicity. And hey, more power to you.
I like chicken.
Ah, Pikmin, how I love you. I absolutely love this franchise to death. And of the 4 mainline titles, while the first one for me is the weakest one to me, I still absolutely adore it. I just love managing a Pikmin army and getting them to work on whatever the level needs me to do, whether it's a wall, enemy, or ship part. However, I kinda dislike how they handled yellow Pikmin in this game. Now, I like them being thrown higher than any other Pikmin, but the only other thing they can do is pick up bomb rocks, which is kinda lame. Why is it that reds or blues can't pick them up? It's basically exclusive to yellows in this game, solely because they have almost nothing else to offer. There's no electricity in this game, as that got added in 2, so there's not really much of a use for them in combat unless an enemy is flying or you use a bomb rock. But there's such a limited amount each day, so you're better off using them for rock walls to access more of the area. It makes the game feel like you use 55% blue, 40% red, and 5% yellow. And also, good God, is the Pikmin AI in this game so stupid at times. There are so many instances where a Pikmin just gets stuck on a wall, which can have it get left behind, or it gets killed and you won't notice. Or they're pathing when carrying something back to home base. Like, instead of taking these bridges, which lead right to our base, no. Let's take the longer path in the water, which could end up being more dangerous. Despite those issues, it set the foundation for future Pikmin titles. And for the most part, I love how much this series has evolved. If you haven't played a Pikmin game, I'd start here or Pikmin 3. Since 2 and 4, as much as I love them, might be a bit more complex for newcomers. Still, I highly recommend trying out the Pikmin series, because it is so darn fun.
Bruce, it's been 5 years. You still owe me $16. Fuck off.
Lego Batman 2 is the fan favorite entry in the Lego Batman series. In my opinion though, this one is the weakest one. Now, it's still Lego Batman. It has those elements of a Lego Batman game that I love doing. And I love how there's now voice acting. But to be honest, while I don't mind an open world Gotham, I'm not the biggest fan of how it's handled. I feel like I don't know where I'm going and the flying controls feel so sensitive. It just felt a bit overwhelming. And despite the game being called Lego Batman 2 DC Superheroes, it really feels like for most of the game, it's actually Lego Batman plus Superman and Lex Luthor. Yes, there are other DC characters like Wonder Woman, Flash, Green Lantern, and Cyborg, but they don't show up until the very end of the main story. And then anything else is in the open world. So it makes it feel like any non-Batman stuff is lacking. Also, regarding some of the levels in this game, it really feels like a couple of these were made to meet a quota of having 15 levels in the game. Like, level 10 and 13 are such nothing burger levels, despite having some important plot moments, like Superman getting hit with kryptonite, or getting the Justice League together. Despite my critiques, however, I did replay this game this year, and I'd say that playthrough did make me enjoy the game a little bit more. It's still the DC entry I like the least, but I do like it more now.
Welcome to the KKK Douchebag Did You.
The South Park RPGs are absolutely fantastic, but the common opinion I see is that Stick of Truth is the better of the two. Unfortunately, I'm not one of those people. It's still a great game, no doubt. Like, the visuals alone could genuinely make people think you're looking at an episode of the show. But nope, it's a game. Exploring South Park is an absolute fun time, especially when collecting stuff like Chin Pokemon, Facebook friends, and pieces of equipment. But there's some things that I really dislike about it. Like, I hate whenever a game has collectibles that can only be obtained at a certain point in the story. And if you don't find a specific collectible, that means you'd have to start over from scratch for a completed collection. And Stick of Truth has this issue constantly. I remember after I beat the game for the first time that I wanted to go and collect ancient Pokemon and friends I missed out on, only to find out some of them were behind story quests in areas you can never revisit. And I stopped playing from there. I also feel like some of the tutorials kind of suck. Like, I got stuck on the Sneaky Squeaker tutorial for longer than I should have. And it didn't help that if you mess up, you have to watch the entire explanation all over again. And lastly, the game feels a bit short to me. Like, I wanted there to be a bit more. And I feel that's partially because of it being an RPG, which tends to be quite lengthy. But it feels like you beat the game in a total of 10 hours and ends a little too quickly. Regardless, I still adore this game. It's an absolute blast. I just think Fractured But Whole does a lot better. Speaking of Fractured But Whole,
You saw your dad fuck your mom.
Fractured But Whole, in a way, is like Stick of Truth, with any critiques I had basically fixed. There's only one instance this time around where you could miss something. Tutorials are easier, and there's more content in the game. The combat, instead of being your typical turn-based RPG like in Stick of Truth, is more of a grid-based RPG, and I kind of prefer it like this. It feels like it makes you strategize more, but maybe that's just me. I love the DLC. You get 2 new stories and a challenge mode known as the Danger Deck, and they're all a blast to play. I also love the variety of party members and classes, making the game feel super flexible with how you can customize your combat. Unfortunately, while I love the game, the loading is exhausting to get through. Although this could be partially because I'm a stupid Nintendo guy who buys stupid Nintendo products. I also really hate the 4-star toilets in this game. If you don't know, one of the things you can do in the game are these toilet mini games, where it tells you to move the joysticks in a certain way or mashing certain buttons. These are mostly enjoyable except the 4-star ones, which are the most difficult, because it feels like you need an extra set of hands. I also wish in the post game you could still use the Coon in combat outside of the Casa Bonita DLC, even if he kinda sucks. I get why, considering he is a traitor in the end game, but it would have been nice to give us the option. I also have mixed feelings at the end of the base game. The various bosses like Mutant Cousin Kyle, the Woodland Critters, and the Stick of Truth versions of the characters are fun, but the final boss felt super underwhelming. And I also kinda hate how your team kinda treats you like shit for no good reason during this part of the game. Like, how was the new kid supposed to know all this stuff was gonna happen? It's Eric's fault, not mine. Even still, this is a phenomenal follow-up to the Stick of Truth, and highly recommended seeing all it has to offer.
No. This isn't how you're supposed to play the game.
Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is such an amazing game. You're telling me this game brought back every single past Smash fighter ever, on top of some of the most insane newcomers, on top of over 100 stages, on top of over 1,000 songs to pick from, on top of some pretty cool modes. It's an absolutely incredible experience, but I do have my gripes with it. The online mode is kind of lackluster, or rather the main online mode. I don't like the GSP gimmick. The preferred rules is neat, but absolutely rough at times. And the connection can also be rough. I also feel like they could have added a bit more modes. Like, how the heck did we never get a boss battle mode? I also personally would have preferred them keeping All-Star mode the same as it was before, because I'm not the biggest fan of how it was reduced to basically a multi-man Smash mode. I don't like how one of the Kingdom Hearts songs is locked behind owning a completely different game, and while I love Classic mode, I hate how often the boss was just Master Hand and Crazy Hand 90% of the time, especially when there's instances where a certain boss makes more sense for a route than them, like Roy or King Dedede. And while I actually kind of enjoy World of Light, it's nothing compared to Subspace Emissary. But despite everything, this game holds a special place in my heart, as it's the game that allowed me to connect with so many people, some of which are my best friends to this day. It's by far the game out of any other that is the most important to me, and yet it's only number 8
in the deep dark layer of the Batman.
Lego Batman was the first video game I ever owned on the DS, but I did play the console version shortly after. And putting childhood aside, I still think it holds up pretty well. I love the fact that the story of the game not only has you play as the hero stopping crime, but also offer you the villain side of the story to play too. It's genius. Stuff from the combat and puzzle solving is fun, and the cutscenes are pretty entertaining. However, the partner AI can be pretty janky, and the music often changes like every 10 seconds. I also feel like despite the fact Batman and Robin have 4 suits each, it feels like 90% of the levels you just use demolition, magnet, glide, and technology, while the remaining 4 suits get like 1 to 3 levels max. I also feel like some of the villains get sidelined. Like, what did Man-Bat contribute at all to Penguin's plan? And while this is more of a problem with all of the older Lego games, man, do I wish this game had a checkpoint system. Now, while stuff like the game crashing or disk not reading isn't necessarily common, that's not to say that it's impossible to happen. And if stuff like that does happen, you have to restart the level all over again. Granted, it's not too bad since the levels in this game average about 15 to 30 minutes, but the option would have been nice. I've had my 360 copy for over a decade, and I've had multiple recording sessions where I've had disk errors leading to me having to start over. And yeah, it's probably gotten pretty old, but still, regardless, I still love this game. I'll still have an attachment to it for as long as I live.
I've got the whole world In my pants! I've got the whole wide world in my pants!
Lego Batman 3 is often considered the weakest entry in the Lego Batman series. Ironically, it's my personal favorite of the ones on this list. For one, they gave the rest of the Justice League more screen time this time around, which was kind of a problem I had with 2, where they were barely in it. Superman kinda gets less, but considering he had a big role in 2, if he has to sacrifice screen time for everyone else, I'm fine with it. There's also just a lot more character variety this time around, since there's more villains and heroes being a part of the plot this time around. And while I don't mind the suit panels in the first 2 games, I like how now with the suits, you unlock them by finding them in the level, and you have access to all your suits at any given moment. And I also love how during gameplay, the characters have dialogue when playing through the game. I kinda dislike how after level 5, Killer Croc and Firefly just had nothing to do. Heck, we don't even get to play as Firefly in the main story. The hub worlds are kind of meh. Not much else I can really say about those, but out of the original trilogy, this game gives off the sense of an adventure, which makes it feel more special. I wish more people would give this game a try. It could just be me, but I feel like people don't like this game all that much. And it's just because it doesn't have 2's open world. I kind of get it, an open world can be fun, but unfortunately I wasn't the biggest fan of how 2 did it. But fair. But do you really need that to have fun in a Lego game? Needless to say, I think this game is underrated and deserves more love.
Wow! Your best note score for this world is 35!
Ah, good old Banjo-Kazooie. An absolute blast from start to almost finish. This game could honestly be one of, if not the best collectathons of all time. It's so fun to collect Jiggies, Jinjos, and Honeycomb pieces. And that's on top of all the cartoony charm it all has. From the characters to the expressions to the hilarious dialogue. It's such an amazing time. With that being said, some of the collectibles kinda suck. I'm looking at you, Engine Room. Grunty's Furnace Fun is ironically not all that fun. It's a game board where you go up to a space where you have to clear challenges to progress to the next space, and do that until you reach the end of it. What sucks about this are the grunty spaces and death spaces. The grunty spaces are questions relating to Gruntilda, but you only find these answers by talking to her sister, Rentilda. But the answers are random for every playthrough. And the death questions are a matter of if you mess up, you die and have to redo everything, no matter how much health you have. And lastly, while this only applies to the N64 version of the game, the notes are the one collectible that suck. There's 100 of them in each world, scattered all over the place. They're kind of like coins in Mario games in a way. What sucks about them is what happens if you die, because in the N64 version, it's treated more like a score. So, if you die and haven't collected all 100 notes yet, it gets reset to 0 and you have to collect all the notes again. You know it's bad when they had to straight up change how they function in both the sequel and the Xbox versions of the original game. And yet I still absolutely love this game. And it's a shame that Microsoft practically killed the franchise by neglecting it all the time. I swear, what was the point of buying Rare if they barely do anything with them outside of spite towards Nintendo? If possible, go check out the game for yourself, specifically on Xbox if possible, for arguably the best experience. But if not, it's also available on the Nintendo Switch's N64 app. Either way, you'll get to experience a phenomenal game.
I just had to open my mouth! I just had to say it!
Pikmin 2 is a bit of a divisive entry in the series. It's still a game that is liked by just about everyone, but it seems like some either find this game as the weakest of the main 4 games, or one of their favorites in the series. I went into this game worried I'd end up considering it the weakest entry, but I came out of it loving it more than I expected. The game is like the original, but instead of collecting ship parts, you collect various treasures to pay off your debt. It adds the ability to play as 2 different captains, which makes multitasking in the game go by so much quicker. The new additions of white and purple Pikmin are great. I love their inclusion. And the yellow Pikmin don't suck anymore, where now they have electricity immunity. And I ended up actually liking the caves more than I expected. They're basically taking Pikmin and making it like a dungeon crawler, which also turns off the timer. As the caves go on, they get more and more chaotic and challenging, which could be a make or break for the game, but I feel like it really puts your brain to work with how you want to collect the treasures. But going back to electricity, I'd say Pikmin 2 might have gone a little too far, since if any non-yellow Pikmin get hit, they just instantly die, compared to the other elements, fire, water, and poison, being the Pikmin panicking and running around, but can be saved by whistling them. Nintendo seemed to agree, since 3 and 4 made it so electricity stuns them, and you can try to whistle them before they end up dying. And I also wish white and purple Pikmin had their own onions to get more of them, instead of being limited to only getting them by putting other types of Pikmin into candy pop buds, making them more scarce to keep around. I mostly say this because of the fact that one ability of purple Pikmin is them having the power of 10 Pikmin, where one purple can carry something that normally requires 10 Pikmin. One of the treasures, the Doomsday Apparatus, has a weight value of 1,000, and in order to carry it with you, it requires 100 purple Pikmin to carry, which in a casual playthrough, you probably wouldn't have. So you have to farm a spot in one of the caves to get a bunch of purples and maybe some whites. Otherwise, I'd say Pikmin 2 is a great follow-up that you should check out.
It's been generations since I seen you. You okay?
Sonic Generations is such a great love letter to the Sonic franchise. And now it also comes with a new Shadow story? Sign me up! The stages are amazing, the remixed music is awesome, and the game itself is just fun to play. In terms of the Sonic side of the game is a bit on the short side. Probably doesn't help that there's like 7 cutscenes about the story, and the rest of the cutscenes are just, look! You saved one of your friends! This version of the game also changed various things about the cutscenes. Everything was redubbed with the current cast for each character, but there's also some lines that got changed. Some are fine, but some lines I feel were better in the original. Like, the 2 Eggmans bantered quite a bit with each other in the original, but in this remaster they toned it down a lot. Doesn't help that most of the animation was kept the exact same, but the dialogue has some of the scenes not make any sense. Like, take the cutscene where Classic Sonic saves Knuckles. In the original, Knuckles calls Classic Sonic chubby, leading to Classic Sonic rubbing his belly. The remaster changed the line to Knuckles asking what happened to the rest of his island, so it comes off as Classic Sonic eating the island. In terms of Shadow, while I enjoy exploring the open world white space, it sucks how the various bolts for Orbot and Cubot's rocket, when you collect all of them, your reward is a flicky clock. I also don't like how you first have to approach the boss gate to be able to play the challenge act, instead of just playing them and getting the keys like what Sonic does. And yet, out of all of the Boost Formula games, this game is probably the best one of them all. And Shadow made it even better.
My name is Cuphead. I like roller coasters and hot dogs and tilt-a-whirl and hot dogs and flying swings and hot dogs and throwing up in roller coasters in that order.
Oh my god, I love Cuphead so much! I'm one who usually doesn't play difficult games all that much, but Cuphead is a rare exception. It's a fun kind of challenge with all the bosses and running guns. The game can be frustrating, but it's done in a way where it really felt like the mistakes were, in fact, your fault. On top of that, the game is absolutely stunning to look at. The art style is based off the super old cartoons, most notably Rubber Hose, and it looks amazing. It really feels like you're in a world of these classic cartoons. You really know a game is good if I not only played through it on YouTube, did it again on Multipals with the game's co-op mode, and then my fellow multi-pal, Archer XYZ, does a playthrough on his own channel. My only gripe with the game is some of this game's coins, which you use for buying new weapons or charms. Some are super easy to miss in the running guns, which can lead to frustrating instances where you're having a good run, but have to start over if you want to get that coin. There's also the hidden coins in Equal Isle that I don't know how you'd be able to find without a guide. But if my only complaint is a collectible you might not even need, then you've got an absolutely spectacular experience. It might be hard to get into at first. For a while I stopped at Beppy the Clown, but once I decided to commit and actually play through the game and its DLC, it became a game worthy of my top 10 favorite games of all time, and it didn't even crack number 1 on this list.
So, yeah.
This might come off as a weird choice for number 1, but I don't care. Doki Doki Literature Club is a beautiful piece of media, containing some of my favorite characters in gaming, well-told stories, amazing music, disturbingly good horror, and is just an absolute love letter for visual novels and storytelling in general. It's a game that really feels like it was made out of love and passion. I really liked it when I first played it, but once I played through the Plus version that added a whole bunch of new content, I truly fell in love with it. Going out of my way to go through every possible route you could go through, finding any sort of secrets in the game, and going through the brand new side stories. It's just incredible from beginning to end. It has a lot of really messed up moments throughout it, some of which I probably can't show. So I wouldn't recommend playing through this if any of the things such as suicide, self-harm, abuse, etc. would make you feel uncomfortable. But if you can handle that stuff, you'll be able to experience a game unlike any other. On the surface, it seems cheesy, but trust me, I think you'll be surprised with this one, especially if you decide to look for everything the game has to offer. The Plus version is available on all consoles and Steam, usually for $15. Otherwise, the original version is still on Steam for free. Just go play this game already, please. Well, that was a lot, but that was also fun. Here's to another 7 years. Squishy Mushroom signing out.